Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. It's technically it's Brandon, but it's Gandalf the Buff today, or Gandalf the Shredded. I don't think I got that many people on today, but thank you all for joining me. Today is my reading. I feel like I haven't done this for a while, mostly because I've just been distracted and kind of incapable of doing any form of reading outside listening to audiobooks, which are just unfortunately way easier to consume, even if I don't always manage to hear exactly what's being said. But I wanted to get started again on reading Lord of the Rings. We're literally so like this is how far we are. Right? This is right here. This is where we are. This is what's left. This is huge. So I do think this is like every single volume. This is not just the Fellowship of the Rings. This is all three books combined into one. So fortunately, finish the entire series. I am hoping that the audio quality is fine. I have some copyright free medieval music playing in the background. Like it's supposed to I wanted to do like Lord of the Rings music, but the music for Lord of the Rings is copyrighted, so if I did that, YouTube would pull me down. I don't think Twitch would, because they don't care. You know. But I know YouTube has removed me from streaming. Like they just shut down my stream because I was posting content that did have a copyright on it, which I understand. I'm not complaining about it, but so I do have like this. I don't know if I can even show you. We'll go live stream real quick. This copyright-free medieval fantasy music, which I think will be able to match the aesthetic of Lord of the Rings well enough. But yeah. So I don't have a whole lot to say. If you say anything, I will be looking up occasionally. I cannot hear my notifications going off because I'm not wearing these. I've tried wearing these before under this hat and it's a pain in my ass. So I'm not wearing my headset, so I might not actually hear the notification bell go off, but I will look up occasionally to respond to any questions, respond to any comments, that sort of thing. I just realized I got like this eye thing right here. Totally looks like fucking Itachi Uchiha. That little like the eye creases. I got those Itachi creases. Alright, I'm gonna get started on the reading. Let me know if you've got any questions, any comments, and I will do my best to answer them. You guys to be able to see book as I read. You still hear me? Maybe I should actually sit up. Sit my ass up. Okay. Open the book. Chapter 9. At the Sign of the Prancing Pony. Bree was the chief village of the Breeland, a small inhabited region, like an island in the empty lands round about. Besides Bree itself, there was Stattle on the other side of the hill, combined in a deep valley a little further eastward, and Archet on the edge of the Chut Wood. Lying round Bree Hill and the villages was a small country of fields, a tamed woodland only a few miles broad. The men of Bree were brown-haired, broad, and rather short, cheerful and independent. They belonged to nobody but themselves. But they were more friendly and familiar with hobbits, dwarves, elves, and other inhabitants of the world about them than was, or is, usual with big people. According to their own tales, they were the original inhabitants and were the descendants of the first men that ever wandered into the west of the middle world. Few had survived the turmoils of the elder days, but when the kings returned again over the great sea, they had found the Bree men still there, and they were still there now. Memory of the old king had faded into the grass. In those days, no other men had settled dwellings so far west, or within 100 leagues of the Shire. But in the wild lands beyond Bree were mysterious wanderers. The Bree folk called them rangers, knew nothing of their origin. Taller and darker, the men of Bree were believed to have strange powers of sight, hearing, understand the languages of. They roamed at will southward, eastward, even as far as the misty mountains. But they were now few. When they appeared, they brought news from afar and told strange forgotten tales, eagerly listened. But the Bree folk did not make friends with them. There were also many families of hobbits in the land, and they claimed to be the oldest settlement of hobbits in the world, one that was founded long before even the Brandywine crossed, Shire colonized. They lived mostly in Staddle, though there were some in Bree itself, especially on the higher slopes of the above the houses of the big folk and the little folk. They called one another, unfriendly term, minding their own affairs in their own, but both rightly regarding themselves as necessary parts of Bree folk. Nowhere else in the world was this particular, but excellent, arrangement to be found. The Bree folk, big and little, did not themselves travel much, and the affairs of the 4 villages were their chief concern. Occasionally, the hobbits of Bree went as far as Buckland, or the East Farthing, but though their little land was not much further than a day's riding east of the Brandywine, the hobbits of the Shire now seldom visited it. An occasional Bucklander or adventurous took would come out to the inn for a night or two, but even that was becoming less and less usual. The Shire hobbits referred to those of Bree, and to any others that lived beyond the borders, as outsiders, and took very little interest in them, considering them dull and uncouth. There were probably many more outsiders scattered about in the west of the in those days than the people of the Shire imagined. Some, doubtless, were no better than tramps, ready to dig a hole in any bank and stay only as long as it suited them. But in the Bree land, at any rate, the hobbits were decent and prosperous, and no more rustic than most of their distant relatives inside. It was not yet forgotten that there had been a time when there was much coming and going between the Shire and there was Bree blood, the Brandybucks, by all accounts. The village of Bree had some 100 stone houses of the big folk, mostly above the road, nestling on the hillside with windows looking west. On that side, running in more than half a circle from the hill and back to it, there was a deep dike with a thick hedge on the side. Over this the road crossed by a causeway, but where it pierced the hedge, it was barred by a great gate. There was another gate in the southern corner, where the road ran out of the village. Gates were closed at nightfall, but just inside them were small lodges for the gatekeeper. Down on the road, where it swept to the right, to go around the foot of the hill, there was a large inn. It had been built long ago, when the traffic on the roads had been far greater. For Bree stood at an old meeting-ways. Another ancient road crossed the east road, just outside the dike at the western end of the village. And in former days, men and other folk of various sorts had traveled much on it. Strange as news from Bree was still a saying in the East Farthing, descending from those days. News from north, south, and east could be heard in the inn, and when the Shire hobbits used to go more often to hear it. But the northern lands had long been desolate, and the north road was now seldom used. It was grass-grown, and the Bree folk called it the Greenway. The Inn of Bree was still there, however, and the innkeeper was an important person. His house was a meeting place for the idle, talkative, and inquisitive among the inhabitants, large and small, of the 4 villages, and a resort of rangers and other wanderers, and for such travelers, mostly dwarves, as still journeyed on the east road, to and from the mountains. It was dark, and white stars were shining, when Frodo and his companions came at last to the Greenway crossing, and drew near the village. They came to the west gate, found it shut, but at the door of the lodge beyond, there was a man sitting. He jumped up and fetched a lantern, and looked over the gate at them in surprise. "What do you want? Where do you come from?" he asked gruffly. "We are making for the inn here, Frodo. We are journeying east and cannot go further tonight." "Hobbits! 4 hobbits! Or out of the Shire by their talk," said the gatekeeper. Softly, self. He stared at them darkly for a moment, slowly opened the gate and let them ride through. "You don't often see Shire folk riding on the road at night," as they halted a moment by his door. "Well, pardon my wondering what business takes you way east of Bree. What may your names be?" "Our names and our business are our own, and this does not seem a good place to discuss them." Not liking the look of the man, tone of his. "Your business is your own, no doubt," said the man, "but it's my business to ask questions after nightfall." "The hobbits from Buckland, and we have a fancy to travel and stay at the inn here," put in Mary. "I am Mr. Brandybuck. Enough for you. We folk used to be fair spoken to travelers, so I heard." All right, said the man. "That's no offense. You'll find maybe that more folk old Harry at the gate will be spoke about. Go on to the pony. We're not the only guests." He wished them good night, and they said no more. But Frodo could see in the lantern light that the man was still eyeing them curiously. He was glad to hear the gate clang to behind them as they rode forward. He wondered why the man was so suspicious, and whether anyone had been asking for news of a party of hobbits. Could it have been Gandalf? He might have arrived while they were delayed in the forest and the downs. But there was something in the look and the voice of the gatekeeper. The man stared after the hobbits for a moment, went back to his house. As soon as his back was turned, a dark figure climbed quickly in over the gates and melted into the shadows of the village street. The hobbits rode on up a gentle slope, passing a few thatched houses, and drew up outside the inn. The houses looked large and strange to them. Sam stared up at the inn with its stories and many windows, and felt his heart sink. He had imagined himself meeting giants taller than trees, and other creatures even more terrifying, some time or other in the course of his journey. But at the moment he was finding his first sight of men and their tall houses quite enough, indeed too much for the dark end of a tiring day. He pictured black horses standing all saddled in the shadows of the inn, and black riders peering out of dark upper windows. "Surely you aren't going to stay here for the night, are we, sir?" he exclaimed. "There are hobbit folk in these parts. Why don't we look for some that would be willing to take us in? More home-like." "What's wrong with the inn?" said Frodo. "Tom Bombadil recommended it. I expect it's home-like enough inside." Even from the outside, the inn looked a pleasant house. It had a front on the road, and two wings running back on land partly cut out of the lower slopes of the hills, so that at the rear of the second-floor windows were level with the ground. There was a wide arch leading to a courtyard between the two wings, and on the left, under the arch, there was a large doorway, reached by a few broad steps. The door was open, and light streamed out of it. Above the arch there was a lamp, and beneath it swung a large signboard. A fat, white pony reared up on its hind legs. Over the door was painted in white letters, "The Prancing Pony," by Barliman Butterbur. Many of the lower windows showed lights behind thick curtains. As they hesitated outside in the gloom, someone began singing a merry song inside, and many cheerful voices joined loudly in the chorus. They listened to this encouraging sound for a moment, and then got off their ponies. The song ended, and there was a burst of laughter, clapping. They led their ponies under the arch, and leaving them standing in the yard, they climbed up the steps. Frodo went forward and nearly bumped into a short, fat man with a bald head and a red face. He had a white apron on, and was bustling out of one door and in through another, carrying a tray laden with full mugs. "Can we—" began Frodo. "Half a minute, if you please," shouted the man over his shoulder, and vanished into a babble of voices in a cloud of smoke. In a moment, he was out again, wiping his hands with his apron. "Good evening, little masters," he said, bending down. "What may you be wanting?" "Beds for 4, and stabling for 5 ponies, if that can be managed. Are you Mr. Butterbur?" "That's right. Barlaman is my name. Barlaman Butterbur, at your service." "You're from the Shire, eh?" he said, and then suddenly he clapped his hand to his forehead, as if trying to remember something. "Hobbits," he cried. "What does that remind me of? Might I ask your names, sirs?" "Mr. Took and Mr. Brandybuck," said Frodo. "And this is Sam Gamgee. My name is Underhill." "There now," said Mr. Butterbur, snapping his fingers. "It's gone again. It'll come back when I have time to think. I'm run off my feet, but I'll see what I can do for you. Don't often get a party out of the Shire nowadays. Should be sorry not to make you welcome. There is such a crowd already in the house tonight as there hasn't been for a long time. Never rains, but it pours, say in Bree." Maheen69, sup? It's been a while. I don't remember when the last time I saw you was. Also, Forerunner134, hello. I did not see that post. But it's good to see you both. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've been well, Maheen. "Hi, Nob!" he shouted. "Where are you, woolly-footed slow coach? Nob!" "Coming, sir, coming!" A cheerful-looking hobbit bobbed out of a door, and seeing the travelers, stopped short and stared at them with great interest. "Where's Bob?" asked the landlord. "Don't know? Well, find him. Double sharp. I haven't got 6 legs nor 6 eyes neither. No, Bob, there's 5 ponies that have to be stabled. You must find room somehow." Bob trotted off with a grin and a wink. Oh man, a new city. That's exciting. I hope the move wasn't too bad. I know moves are... I was gonna say, moves are always very hectic affairs. One of the reasons I have not moved, aside from the fact that I actually own my house. Moving across cities or even like states is also exceedingly more difficult than just moving into a new apartment across the city. So hopefully you are either settled down or will get settled down soon, though. "Well now, what was I going to say?" said Mr. Butter, tapping his forehead. "One thing drives out another, so to speak. I'm that busy tonight, my head is going round. Party that came up the Greenway, down south last night. That was strange enough to begin with. And there's a traveling company of dwarves going west, coming this evening. Now there's you. If you weren't hobbits, I doubt we could house you. We've got a room or two in the wing that were made special for hobbits when this place was built. On the ground floor, as they usually prefer, round windows and all as they like it. I hope you'll be comfortable. You'll be wanting supper, I don't doubt, as soon as may be. This way now." He led the short way down a passage and opened a door. "Here's a nice little parlor," he said. "I hope it will suit. Excuse me now. I'm that busy. No time for talking. Must be trotting. It's hard work for 2 legs, but I don't get thinner. I'll look in again later. If you want anything, ring the handbell and Nob will come. If you don't come, ring and shout." Off he went at last, and left them feeling rather breathless. He seemed capable of an endless stream of talk, however busy he might be. They found themselves in a small and cozy room. There was a bit of bright fire burning on the hearth, and in front of it were some low and comfortable chairs. There was a round table, already spread with a white cloth, and on it was a large handbell. Nob, the hobbit servant, came bustling in long before they thought of ringing. He brought candles and a tray full of plates. "Will you be wanting anything to drink, masters?" he asked. "Shall I show you the bedrooms while your suppers got ready?" We were washed and in the middle of a good deep mugs of beer when Mr. Butterbur and Nob came in. In a twinkling, the table was laid. There was hot soup, cold meats, a blackberry tart, 2 loaves, slabs of butter, and a half-ripe cheese. Good plain food, as good as the Shire could show, and homelike enough to dispel the last of Sam's misgivings. Already much relieved by the excellence of the beer. I'd only have to look out for the furniture, the fragile stuff, which is mostly my girlfriend's stuff. Yeah, no. Like, the furniture and any fragile stuff is always difficult. I remember the last time I actually moved into the place I own right now, this place. I had a lot of figures. Still do. You can see some of them up there. So, and those are, not quite super delicate, but they can break rather easily if you're not careful. And then, of course, I also had my computer, which was a bitch to move. I think the furniture was the worst, though. I own a condo, which is sort of like an apartment, so I'm on the 2nd floor. And getting my couch through the fucking door was a nightmare. So, but I do hope that you and your girlfriend have a nice, cozy new home that you can relax in. Are you talking about the environment of the city or the environment of your of your place? Already much relieved by the excellence of the beer, the landlord hovered round for a little and then prepared to leave them. I don't know whether you would care to join the company when you have supped, he said, standing at the door. Perhaps you would rather go to your beds. Still, the company would be very pleased to welcome you if you had a mind. Don't get outsiders, travelers from the Shire, I should say, begging your pardon. Often, we like to hear a bit of news, or a story or song you might have in mind. But as you please, ring the bell if you lack anything. Ooh, sounds like a big city then. I kind of hate traffic, which is why I'm glad I live, or I work from home. Oh, that's nice. No neighbors sounds nice. I have a lot of neighbors, and while I like some of them are just, not gonna lie, some of them are strange. Queer folk, as the hobbits would say. So refreshed and encouraged did they feel at the end of their supper, about 3/4 of an hour's steady going, not hindered by unnecessary talk, that Frodo, Pippin, and Sam decided to join the company. Merry said it would be too stuffy. I shall sit here quietly by the fire for a bit, perhaps go out later for a sniff of the air. Mind your P's and Q's, and don't forget that you are supposed to be escaping in secret, and are still on the high road, not very far from the Shire. All right, said Pippin. Mind yourself. Don't get lost, and don't forget that it is safer indoors. The company was in the big common room of the inn. The gathering was large and mixed, as Frodo discovered when his eyes got used to the light. This came chiefly from a blazing log fire, for the 3 lamps hanging from the beams were dim, half-veiled in smoke. Barlaam Butterbur was standing near the fire, talking to a couple of dwarves and 1 or 2 strange-looking men. On the benches were various folk, men of Bree, a collection of local hobbits, sitting chattering together, a few more dwarves, and other vague figures difficult to make out in the shadows and corners. As soon as the Shire hobbits entered, there was a chorus of welcome from the Breelanders. The strangers, especially those that had come up the greenway, stared at them curiously. The landlord introduced the newcomers to the Bree folk so quickly that, though they caught many names, they were seldom sure who the names belonged to. The men of Bree seemed all to have rather botanical, and to the Shire folk rather odd, names, like Rushlight, Goatleaf, Heathertoes, Appledore, Thistlewood, and Ferny, not to mention Butterbur. Some of the hobbits had similar names. The Mugworts, for instance, seemed numerous, but most of them had natural names, such as Banks, Brockhouse, Longholes, Sandheaver, and Tunnelly, many of which were used in the Shire. There were several Underhills from Staddle, and as they could not imagine sharing a name without being related, they took Frodo to their hearts as a long-lost cousin. The Bree hobbits were, in fact, friendly and inquisitive, and Frodo soon found that some explanation of what he was doing would have to be given. He gave out that he was interested in history and geography, at which there was much wagging of heads, although neither of these words were much used in the Bree dialect. He said he was thinking of writing a book, at which there was silent astonishment, and that he and his friends wanted to collect information about hobbits living outside the Shire, especially in the eastern lands. At this, a chorus of voices broke out. If Frodo had really wanted to write a book, and had had many ears, He would have learned enough for several chapters in a few minutes. And if that was not enough, he was given a whole list of names, beginning with old Barlaman here, to whom he could go further for information. But after a time, as Frodo did not show any signs of writing a book on the spot, the hobbits returned to their questions about doings in the Shire. Frodo did not prove very communicative, and he soon found himself sitting alone in a corner, listening and looking around. The men and dwarves were mostly talking of distant events and telling news of a kind that was becoming only too familiar. There was trouble away in the south, and it seemed that the men who had come up the Greenway were on the move, looking for lands where they could find some peace. The Bree folk were sympathetic, but plainly not very ready to take a large number of strangers into their little land. One of the travelers, a squint-eyed, ill-favored fellow, was foretelling that more and more people would be coming north in the near future. If room isn't found for them, they'll find it for themselves. They have a right to live, same as other folk, he said loudly. The local inhabitants did not look pleased at the prospect. The hobbits did not pay much attention to all this, as it did not at the moment seem to concern hobbits. Big folk could hardly beg for lodging in hobbit holes. They were more interested in Sam and Pippin, who were now feeling quite at home, and were chatting gaily about events in the Shire. Pippin roused a good deal of laughter with an account of the collapse of the roof of the town hall in Mitchell Delving. Will Whitfoot, the mayor, and the fattest hobbit in the West Farthing, had been buried in shock and came out like a floured dumpling. But there were several questions asked that made Frodo a little uneasy. One of the Bree-landers, who seemed to have been in the Shire several times, wanted to know where the Underhills lived and who they were related to. Suddenly, Frodo noticed that a strange-looking, weather-beaten man, sitting in the shadows near the wall, was also listening intently to the hobbit talk. He had a tall tankard in front of him, and was smoking a long-stemmed pipe, curiously carved. His legs were stretched out before him, showing high boots of supple leather that fitted him well, but had seen much wear and were now caked with mud. A travel-stained cloak of heavy dark green cloth was drawn close about him, and in spite of the heat of the room, he wore a hood that overshadowed his face. But the gleam of his eyes could be seen as he watched the hobbits. "Who is that?" Frodo asked, and he got a chance to whisper to Mr. Butterbur. "I don't think you introduced him," said the landlord in an answering whisper, cocking an eye without turning his head. "I don't rightly know. He is one of the wandering folk. Rangers, we call them. He seldom talks, not but what he can tell a rare tale when he has the mind. He disappears for a month or a year, and he pops up again. Was in and out pretty often last spring, but I haven't seen him about lately. With his right name is, I've never heard. But he's known around here as Strider. About at a great pace on his long shanks, though he don't tell nobody what cause he has to hurry. But there's no accounting for east and west, as we say in Bree. Mean the Rangers and the Shire folk. Begging your pardon. Funny you should ask about him." But at the moment, Butterbur was called away by a demand for more ale, and his last remark remained unexplained. Frodo found that Strider was now looking at him, as if he had heard or guessed all that had been said. Presently, with a wave of his hand and a nod, he invited Frodo to come over and sit by him. As Frodo drew near, he threw back his hood, showing a shaggy head of dark hair flecked with gray. and in a pale, stern face, a pair of keen gray eyes. "I am called Strider," he said in a low voice. "I am very pleased to meet you, Master Underhill. If old Butterbur got your name right." "He did," said Frodo stiffly. He felt far from comfortable under the stare of those keen eyes. "Well, Master Underhill," said Strider, "if I were you, I should stop your young friends from talking too much. Drink, fire, and chance meeting are pleasant enough, but, well, this isn't the Shire. There are queer folk about. Though I say it as shouldn't, you may think," he added with a wry smile, seeing Frodo's glance, "there have been much stranger travelers through Bree lately," he went on, watching Frodo's face. Frodo returned his gaze but said nothing, and Strider made no further sign. His attention seemed suddenly to be fixed on Pippin. To his alarm, Frodo became aware that the ridiculous young Took, encouraged by his success with the fat mayor of Mitchell Delving, was now actually giving a comic account of Bilbo's farewell party. He was already giving an imitation of the speech, and was drawing near to the astonishing disappearance. Frodo was annoyed. It was a harmless enough tale for most of the local hobbits, no doubt. Just a funny story about those funny people away beyond the river. But some, old Butterbur for instance, knew a thing or two, and had probably heard rumors long ago about Bilbo's vanishing. It would bring the name of Baggins to their minds, especially if there had been inquiries in Bree after that name. Frodo fidgeted, wondering what to do. Pippin was evidently much enjoying the attention he was getting, and had become quite forgetful of their danger. Frodo had a sudden fear that in his present mood he might even mention the ring, and that might well be disastrous. "I'd better do something quick," whispered Strider in his ear. Frodo jumped up and stood on a table, and began to talk. The attention of Pippin's audience was disturbed. Some of the hobbits looked at Frodo and laughed and clapped, thinking that Mr. Underhill had taken as much ale as was good for him. Frodo suddenly felt very foolish and found himself, as was his habit when making a speech, fingering the things in his pocket. He felt the ring on its chain, and was quite unaccountably the desire came over him to slip it on and vanish out of the silly situation. It seemed to him, somehow, as if the suggestion came to him from outside, from someone or something in the room. He resisted the temptation firmly and clasped the ring in his hand, as if to keep a hold on it and prevent it from escaping or doing any mischief. At any rate, it gave him no inspiration. He spoke a few suitable words, as they would have said in the Shire. "We are all very much gratified by the kindness of your reception, and I venture to hope that my brief visit will help to renew the old ties of friendship between the Shire and Bree." And then he hesitated and coughed. Everyone in the room was now looking at him. "A song!" shouted one of the hobbits. "A song! A song!" shouted all the others. "Come on now, master! Sing us something that we haven't heard before." For a moment, Frodo stood gaping. Then, in desperation, he began a ridiculous song that Bilbo had been rather fond of, and indeed rather proud of, for he had made up the words himself. It was about an inn, and that is probably why it came to Frodo's mind just then. Here it is in full. Only a few words of it are now, as a rule, remembered. "There is an inn, a merry old inn, beneath an old grey hill. And there they brew a beer so brown, that the man in the moon himself came down. One might drink his fill." Not good at singing. "The ostler has a tipsy cat, that plays a 5-stringed fiddle, and up and down he runs his bow, now squeaking high, now purring low, now sawing in the middle. The landlord keeps a little dog that is mighty fond of jokes. When there's a good cheer among the guests, he cocks an ear at all the jests and laugh until he chokes. They also keep a horned cow as proud as any queen. But music turns her head like ale and makes her wave her rufted tail and dance upon the gown. Oh, dance upon the green, my bad. And oh, the rows of silver dishes and the store of silver spoons. Oh, that's just a bot. Can I do anything about that? Wish I could. Ah, I can, I think. I'm going to click on that. And can I ban this guy? Ban. There you go. For Sunday there's a special pair, and these they polish up with care on Saturday afternoons. The man in the moon was drinking deep, and the cat began to wail. A dish and a spoon on the table danced, the cow in the garden madly pranced, and the little dog chased his tail. The man in the moon took another mug, and then rolled beneath his chair. And there he dozed and dreamed of ale, till in the sky the stars were pale, and dawn was in the air. Then the ostler said to his tipsy cat, "The white horses of the moon, they neigh and champ their silver bits, but their master's been drowned his wits, and the sun will be rising soon." So the cat on his fiddle played hey diddle diddle, a jig that would wake the dead. He squeaked and sawed and quickened the tune while I'm bad at singing. While the landlord shook the man in the moon. "It's after 3," he said. They rolled the man slowly up the hill and bundled him into the moon, while his horses galloped in rear, and the cow came capering like a deer, and a dish ran up with the spoon. Now quicker the fiddle went diddle dum diddle dum diddle. The dog began to roar. The cow and the horses stood on their heads. The guests all bounded from their beds and danced upon the floor. With a ping and a pong, the fiddle strings broke. The cow jumped over the moon, and the little dog laughed to see such fun, and the Sunday dish went off at a run. With the silver Sunday spoon, the round moon rolled behind the hill. As the sun raised up her head, she hardly believed her fiery eyes, for though it was day, to her surprise, they all went back to bed. Whew. There was a loud, long applause. Frodo had a good voice, and the song tickled their fancy. "Where's old Barley?" they cried. "He ought to hear this. Bob ought to learn his cat the fiddle, and then we'd have a dance." They called for more ale and began shouting, "Let's have it again, master! Come on now, once more!" Apparently, Frodo is a lot better at singing than I am. I'm just going to say this right now. I cannot sing to save my life. They made Frodo have another drink, and then begin his song again. Well, many of them joined in, for the tune was well known, and they were quick at picking up words. It was now Frodo's turn to feel pleased with himself. He capered about on the table, and when he came a second time to "The cow jumped over the moon," he leapt in the air, much too vigorously, for he came down, bang, into a tray full of mugs and slipped, and rolled off the table with a crash, clatter, and bump. The audience all opened their mouths wide for laughter, and stopped short in gaping silence, for the singer had disappeared. He simply vanished, as if he had gone slap through the floor without leaving a hole. The local hobbits stared in amazement, and then sprang to their feet and shouted for Barlaman. All the company drew away from Pippin and Sam, who found themselves alone in a corner and eyed darkly and doubtfully from a distance. It was plain that many people regarded them now as the companions of a traveling magician of unknown powers and purpose. But there was one swarthy Breelander who stood looking at them with a knowing and half-mocking expression that made them feel very uncomfortable. Presently he slipped out of the door, followed by the squint-eyed southerner. The two had been whispering together a good deal during the event. Frodo felt a fool. Not knowing what else to do, he crawled away under the tables to the dark corner by Strider, who sat unmoved, giving no sign of his thoughts. Frodo leaned back against the wall and took off the ring. How it came to be on his finger he could not tell. He could only suppose that he had been handling it in his pocket while he sang, and that somehow it had slipped on when he stuck out his hand with a jerk to save his fall. For a moment he wondered if the ring itself had not played him a trick. Perhaps it had tried to reveal itself in response to some wish or command that was felt in the room. He did not like the looks of the men that had gone out. "Well," Strider said, when he reappeared, "why did you do that? Worse than anything your friends could have said. You put your foot in it. Or should I say your finger?" "I don't know what you mean," said Frodo, annoyed and alarmed. "Oh, yes you do," answered Strider. "But we had better wait until the uproar has died down. Then, if you please, Mr. Baggins, I should like a quiet word with you." "What about?" asked Frodo, ignoring the sudden use of his proper name. "Matter of some importance. It was both," answered Strider, looking Frodo in the eye. "You may hear something to your advantage." "Very well," said Frodo, trying to appear unconcerned. "I'll talk to you later." Meanwhile, an argument was going on by the fireplace. Mr. Butterbur had come trotting in, and he was now trying to listen to several conflicting accounts of the event at the same time. "I saw him, Mr. Butterbur," said a hobbit. "Or leastways, I didn't see him, if you take my meaning. He just vanished into thin air, in a manner of speaking." "You don't say, Mr. Mugwort?" said the landlord, looking puzzled. "Yes, I do," replied Mugwort. "And I mean what I say. What's more—" "There's some mistake somewhere," said Butterbur, shaking his head. "There was too much of that Mr. Underhill to go vanishing into thin air, or into thick air, as is more likely in this room." "Well, where is he now?" cried several voices. "How should I know? He's welcome to go where he will, so long as he pays in the morning. There's Mr. Took now. He's not vanished." "Well, I saw what I saw, and I saw what I didn't," said Mugwort obstinately. "And I say there's some mistake," repeated Butterbur, picking up the tray and gathering up the broken crockery. "Of course there's a mistake," said Frodo. "I haven't vanished. Here I am. I've just been having a few words with Strider in the corner." He came forward into the firelight, but most of the company backed away, even more perturbed than before. They were not in the least satisfied by his explanation that he had crawled away quickly under the tables after he had fallen. Most of the hobbits and the men of Bree went off then and there in a huff, having no fancy for further entertainment that evening. One or two gave Frodo a black look and departed, muttering among themselves. The dwarves and the two or three strange men that still remained got up and said good night to the landlord, but not to Frodo and his friends. Before long, no one was left but Strider, who sat on, unnoticed by the wall. Mr. Butterbur did not seem much put out. He reckoned, very probably, that his house would be full again on many future nights, until the present mystery had been thoroughly discussed. "Now what have you been doing, Mr. Underhill?" he asked. "Frightening my customers and breaking up my crocks with your acrobatics?" "I am very sorry to have caused any trouble," said Frodo. "It was quite unintentional, I assure you. A most unfortunate accident." "All right, Mr. Underhill. But if you're going to do any more tumbling or conjuring or whatever it was, you'd best warn folk beforehand. And warn me. We're a bit suspicious round here of anything out of the way. Uncanny, if you understand me. And we don't take to it all of a sudden. I shan't be doing anything of the sort again, Mr. Butterbur, I promise you. Now I think I'll be getting to bed. We shall be making an early start. Will you see that our ponies are ready by 8 o'clock? Very good. But before you go, I should like a word with you in private, Mr. Underhill. Something has just come to my mind that I ought to tell you. I hope that you'll not take it amiss. When I've seen a thing or two, I'll come along to your room, if you're willing. Certainly, said Frodo, but his heart sank. He wondered how many private talks he would have before he got to bed, and what they would reveal. Were these people all in league against him? He began to suspect even old Butterbur's fat face of concealing dark designs. Ooh, I feel like I'm tripping over my words more than usual today. But it's only been a little less than an hour. So I think I've got enough in me for one more chapter. Let's see how long this is. Yeah, I can do one more chapter. So we're going to read one more chapter before I'm off. Chapter 10. Strider. Frodo, Pippin, and Sam made their way back to the parlor. There was no light. Merry was not there, and the fire had burned low. It was not until they had puffed up the embers into a blaze and thrown on a couple of faggots that they discovered Strider had come with them. There he was calmly sitting in a chair by the door. "Hello," said Pippin. "Who are you, and what do you want?" "I am called Strider," he answered. "And though he may have forgotten it, your friend promised to have a quiet talk with me." "You said I might hear something to my advantage, I believe," said Frodo. "What have you to say?" "Several things," answered Strider. "But, of course, I have my price." "What do you mean?" asked Frodo sharply. "Don't be alarmed. I mean just this. I will tell you what I know, and give you some good advice, but I shall want a reward." "And what will that be, pray?" said Frodo. He suspected now that he had fallen in with a rascal, and he thought uncomfortably that he had brought only a little money with him. All of it would hardly be enough, hardly satisfy a rogue, and he could not spare any of it. "No more than you can afford," Strider with a slow smile, as if he guessed Frodo's thoughts. "Just this. You must take me along with you, until I wish to leave you." "Oh, indeed," replied Frodo, surprised, but not much relieved. "Even if I wanted another companion, I should not agree to any such thing, till I know a good deal more about you, and your business." "Excellent!" exclaimed Strider, crossing his legs and sitting back comfortably. "You seem to be coming to your senses again, and that is all to the good. You have been much too careless so far. Very well. I will tell you what I know and leave the reward to you. You may be glad to grant it, and you have heard me." "Go on then," said Frodo. "What do you know?" "Too much. Too many dark things," said Strider grimly. "But for your business—" He got up and went to the door, opened it quickly and looked out. Then he shut it quietly and sat down again. "I have quick ears," he went on, lowering his voice, "and though I cannot disappear, I have hunted many wild and wary things, and I can usually avoid being seen, if I wish. Now, I was behind the hedge this evening at the road west of Bree, when 4 hobbits came out of the downlands. I need not repeat all that they said to old Bombadil or to one another, but one thing interested me. 'Please remember,' said one of them, 'that the name Baggins must not be mentioned. Mr. Underhill, if any name must be given.' That interested me so much that I followed them here. I slipped over the gate just behind them. Maybe Mr. Baggins has an honest reason for leaving his name behind. But if so, I should advise him and his friends to be more careful. I don't see what interest my name has for anyone in Bree, said Frodo angrily. And I have still to learn why it interests you. Mr. Strider may have an honest reason for spying and eavesdropping, but if so, I should advise him to explain it. Well answered, said Strider, laughing. But the explanation is simple. I was looking for a hobbit called Frodo Baggins. I wanted to find him quickly. I learned that he was carrying out of the Shire, well, a secret that concerned me and my friends. Now don't mistake me, he cried as Frodo rose from his seat, and Sam jumped up with a scowl. I shall take more care of the secret than you do, and care is needed. He leaned forward and looked at them. Watch every shadow, he said in a low voice. Black horsemen have passed through Bree. On Monday, one came down the greenway, they say, and another appeared later, coming up the greenway from the south. There was silence. At last, Frodo spoke to Pippin and Sam. I ought to have guessed it from the way the gatekeeper greeted us, he said. And the landlord seems to have heard something. Why did he press us to join the company? And why on earth did we behave so foolishly? We ought to have stayed quiet in here. It would have been better, said Strider. I would have stopped your going into the common room, if I could, but the innkeeper would not let me see you. Take a message. Do you think he... Frodo began. No, I don't think any harm of old Butterbur. Only he does not altogether like mysterious vagabonds of my sort. Frodo gave him a puzzled look. Well, I have a rather rascally look, have I not? Said Strider with a curl of his lip and a queer gleam in his eye. But I hope we shall get to know one another better. We do. I hope you will explain what happened at the end of your song. For that little prank... It was sheer accident, interrupted Frodo. I wonder, said Strider. Accident, then. That accident has made your position dangerous. Hardly more than it was already, said Frodo. I knew these horsemen were pursuing me, but now at any rate they seem to have missed me, and to have gone away. You must not count on that, said Strider sharply. They will return, and more are coming. There are others. I know their number. I know these riders. He paused, and his eyes were cold and hard. And there are some folk in Bree who are not to be trusted. He went on. Bill Ferny, for instance. He has an evil name in the Bree land, and queer folk call at his house. You must have noticed him among the company. Swarthy, sneering fellow. He was very close with one of the southern strangers, and they slipped out together just after your accident. Not all of the southerners mean well, and as for Ferny, he would sell anything to anybody, or make mischief for amusement. What will Ferny sell? And what has my accident to do with him? Said Frodo, still determined not to understand Strider's hint. News of you, of course, answered Strider. An account of your performance would be very interesting to certain people. After that, they would hardly need to be told your real name. It seems to me only too likely that they will hear of it before this night is over. Is that enough? You can do as you like about my reward. Take me as a guide or not. But I may say that I know all the lands between the Shire and the Misty Mountains, where I've wandered over them for many years. I am older than I look. I might prove useful. You will have to leave the open road after tonight. The horsemen will watch it at night and day. You may escape from Bree and be allowed to go forward while the sun is up. You won't go far. They will come on you in the wild, some dark place where there is no help. Do you wish them to find you? They are terrible. The hobbits looked at him, and saw with surprise that his face was drawn as if with pain, and his hands clenched the arms of his chair. The room was very quiet and stiff, and the light seemed to have grown dim. For a while he sat, with unseeing eyes, as if walking in distant memory or listening to the sounds in the night far away. There, he cried after a moment, drawing his hand across his brow. Perhaps I know more about these pursuers than you do. You fear them, but you do not fear them enough yet. Tomorrow you will have to escape if you can. Strider can take you by paths that are seldom trodden. Will you have him? There was a heavy silence. Frodo made no answer. His mind was confused with doubt and fear. Sam frowned and looked at his master. But at last he broke out. With your leave, Mr. Frodo, I'd say no. This Strider here, he warns you, and he says take care. And I say yes to that. And let's begin with him. He comes out of the wild, and I never heard no good of such folk. He knows something, that's plain, and more than I like. But it's no reason why we should let him go leading us out into some dark place far from help, as he puts it. Pippin fidgeted and looked uncomfortable. Strider did not reply to Sam, but turned his keen eyes on Frodo. Frodo caught his glance and looked away. No, he said slowly. I don't agree. I think you are not really as you choose to look. You began to talk to me like the Bree folk, but your voice has changed. Still, Sam seems right in this. I don't see why you should warn us to take care, and yet ask us to take you on trust. Why the disguise? Who are you? What do you really know about my business? And how do you know it? The lesson in caution has been well learned, Strider with a grim smile. But caution is one thing and wavering is another. You will never get to Rivendell now on your own, and to trust me is your only chance. You must make up your mind. I will answer some of your questions, if that will help you to do so. But why should you believe my story if you do not trust me already? Still, here it is. At that moment, there came a knock at the door. Mr. Butterbur had arrived with candles, and behind him was Nob with cans of hot water. Strider withdrew into a dark corner. Come to bid you good night, said the landlord, putting the candles on the table. Nob, take the water to the rooms. He came in and shut the door. It's like this, he began, hesitating and looking troubled. If I've done any harm, I'm sorry indeed. But one thing drives out another, as you'll admit, and I'm a busy man. But first one thing and then another this week have jogged my memory, as the saying goes. And not too late, I hope. See, I was asked to look out for hobbits of this shire, and for one by the name of Baggins in particular. And what has that got to do with me? Asked Frodo. Ah, you know best, said the landlord knowingly. I won't give you away, but I was told that this Baggins would be going by the name Underhill, and I was given a description that fits you well enough, if I may say so. Indeed. Let's have it then, said Frodo, unwisely interrupting. A stout little fellow with red cheeks, said Mr. Butterbur solemnly. Pippin chuckled, but Sam looked indeed indignant. That won't help you much. It goes for most hobbits. Barley, he said to me, continued Mr. Butterbur with a glance at Pippin. But this one is taller than some and fairer than most, and he has a cleft in his chin. Perky chap, with a bright eye. Begging your pardon, but he said it, not me. He? And who is he? Asked Frodo eagerly. Ah, that was Gandalf, if you know who I mean. A wizard, they say he is, but he's a good friend of mine, whether or no. But now I don't know what he'll have to say to me, if I see him again. Turn all my ale sour, or me into a block of wood, I shouldn't wonder. He's a bit hasty. Still, what's done can't be undone. Well, what have you done? Said Frodo, getting impatient with the slow unraveling of Butterbur's thoughts. Where was I? Said the landlord, pausing and snapping his fingers. Ah yes, old Gandalf. 3 months back he walked into my room without a knock. Barley, he says, I'm off in the morning. Will you do something for me? You've only to name it, I said. I'm in a hurry, said he. I have no time myself, but I want a message took to the Shire. Have you anyone you can send and trust to go? I can find someone, I said. Tomorrow maybe, or the day after. Make it tomorrow, he says. And then he gave me a letter. It's addressed plain enough, said Mr. Butterbur, producing a letter from his pocket and reading out the address slowly and proudly. He valued his reputation as a lettered man. Mr. Frodo Baggins, Bag End, Hobbiton, in the Shire. A letter from me from Gandalf, cried Frodo. Ah, said Mr. Butterbur. Then your right name is Baggins? It is, said Frodo. And you had better give me that letter at once and explain why you never sent it. That's what you came to tell me, I suppose, though you've taken a long time to come to the point. Poor Mr. Butterbur looked troubled. You're right, master, he said, and I beg your pardon. And I'm mortal afraid of what Gandalf will say if harm comes to it. But I didn't keep it back a purpose. I put it by safe. Then I couldn't find nobody willing to go to the Shire next day, or the day after, and none of my own folk were to spare. And then one thing after another drove it out of my mind. I'm a busy man. I'll do what I can to set matters right, and if there's any help I can give, you've only to name it. Leaving the letter aside, I promised Gandalf no less, Barley says to me. This friend of mine is from the Shire. He may be coming out of this way before long, him and another. He'll be calling himself Underhill, mind that. But you need ask no questions. If I'm not with him, he may be in trouble. He may need help. Do whatever he can for them, and I'll be grateful, he says. And here you are, and trouble is not far off, seemingly. What do you mean? Asked Frodo. These black men, said the landlord, lowering his voice. They're looking for Baggins, and if they mean well, then I'm a hobbit. It was on Monday, and all the dogs were yammering and the geese screaming. Uncanny, I called it. Nob, he came and told me that 2 black men were at the door, asking for a hobbit called Baggins. Nob's hair was all stood on end. I bid the black fellow be off, and slammed the door on them. But they've been asking the same question all the way to Archet, I hear. And that ranger, Strider, he's been asking questions too. Tried to get in here to see you, before you'd had a bite or sup, he did. He did, said Strider suddenly, coming forward into the light. Much trouble would have been saved if you had let him in, Barliman. The landlord jumped with surprise. You, he cried. You're always popping up. What do you want now? He's here with my leave, said Frodo. He came to offer me his help. Well, you know your own business, maybe, said Mr. Butterbur, looking suspiciously at Strider. But if I was in your plight, I wouldn't take it up with a ranger. Then who would you take it up with? Asked Strider. A fat innkeeper who only remembers his own name because people shout at him all day. They cannot stay in the pony forever, and they cannot go home. They have a long road before them. Will you go with them and keep the black man off? Me? Leave Bree? I wouldn't do that for any money, said Mr. Butterbur, looking really scared. But why can't you stay here quiet for a bit, Mr. Underhill? What are all these queer goings-on? What are these men and black men after? And where do they come from? I'd like to know. I am sorry I can't explain it all, answered Frodo. I am tired and very worried, and it's a long tale. But if you mean to help me, I ought to warn you that you will be in danger as long as I am in your house. Black Riders, I am not sure, but I fear they come from... They come from Mordor, said Strider in a low voice. From Mordor, Barliman, if that means anything to you. Save us, cried Mr. Butterbur, turning pale. The name evidently was known to him. That is the worst news that has come to Bree in my time. It is, said Frodo. Are you still willing to help me? I am, said Mr. Butterbur, more than ever. Though I don't know what the likes of me can do against... He faltered. Against the shadow in the east, said Strider quietly. Not much, Barliman,
but every little helps. You can let Mr. Underhill stay here tonight, as Mr. Underhill, and you can forget the name of Bag Ends till he is far away." "I'll do that," said Butterbur. "But they'll find out he's here without help from me, I'm afraid. It's a pity Mr. Baggins drew attention to himself this evening, to say no more. The story of that Mr. Bilbo's going off has been heard before tonight in Bree. Even our Nob has been doing some guessing in his slow pate. And there are others in Bree quicker on the uptake than he is. Well, we can only hope the riders won't come back yet," said Frodo. "I hope not indeed," said Mr. Butterbur. "But spooks or no spooks, they won't get in the pony so easy. Don't you worry till the morning. I will say no word. No black men shall pass my doors while I can stand on my legs. Me and my folk will keep you watch tonight. You had best get some sleep if you can." "In any case, we must be called at dawn," said Frodo. "We must get off as early as possible. Breakfast at 6:30, please." "Right. I'll see to the orders," said the landlord. "Good night, Mr. Baggins. Underhill, I should say. Good night. Oh, bless me. Where's your Mr. Brandybuck?" "I don't know," said Frodo with sudden anxiety. They had forgotten all about Merry. It was getting late. "I'm afraid he is out. He said something about going for a breath of air." "Well, you do want looking after, and no mistake. Your party might be on a holiday," said Mr. Butterbur. "I must go and bar the doors quick, but I'll see your friend is let in when he comes. I'd better send Nob to look for him. Good night to you all." At last, Mr. Butterbur went out, another doubtful look at Strider, and a shake of his head. His footsteps retreated down the passage. "Well," said Strider, "when are you going to open that letter?" Frodo looked carefully at the seal before he broke it. It seemed certainly to be Gandalf's. Inside, written in the wizard's strong but graceful script, was the following message. "Dear Frodo, bad news has reached me here. I must go off at once. You had better leave Bag End soon, and get out of the Shire before the end of July at latest. I will return as soon as I can, and I will follow you if I find that you are gone. Leave a message for me here. Pass through Bree. You can trust the landlord, Butterbur. You may meet a friend of mine on the road, a man, lean, dark, tall, by some called Strider. He knows our business and will help you. Make for Rivendell. There I hope we may meet again. If I do not come, Elrond will advise you. Yours in haste, Gandalf. P.S. Do not use it again. Not for any reason whatsoever. Do not travel by night. P.P.S. Make sure that it is the real Strider. There are many strange men on the road. His true name is Aragorn. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. Crownless again shall be king. P.P.S. I hope Butterbur sends this promptly. Worthy man, but his memory is like a lumber room. Thing wanted always buried. He forgets, I shall roast him. Farewell. Frodo read the letter to himself, and it passed to Pippin and Sam. Really, old Butterbur has made a mess of things, he said. He deserves roasting. If I had got this at once, we might all have been safe in Rivendell by now. But what can have happened to Gandalf? He writes as if he was going into great danger. He has been doing that for many years, said Strider. Frodo turned and looked at him thoughtfully, wondering about Gandalf's second postscript. Why didn't you tell me you were Gandalf's friend at once, he asked. It would have saved time. Would it? Would any of you have believed me till now? Said Strider. I knew nothing of this letter. For all I knew, I had to persuade you to trust me without proof, if I was to help you. In any case, I did not intend to tell you all about myself at once. I had to study you first and make sure of you. The enemy has set traps for me before now. As soon as I had made up my mind, I was ready to tell you whatever you asked. I must admit," he added with a queer laugh, "that I hoped you would take me for my own sake. A hunted man sometimes wearies of distrust and longs for friendship. But there, I believe my looks are against me." "They are, at first sight, at any rate," laughed Pippin, with sudden relief after reading Gandalf's letter. "But handsome is as handsome does, as we say in the Shire, and I dare say we shall all look much the same after lying for days in hedges and ditches." "It would take more than a few days, or weeks, or years of wandering in the wild to make you look like Strider," he answered. "And you would die first, unless you were made of sterner stuff than you look to be." Pippin subsided, but Sam was not daunted. He still eyed Strider dubiously. "How do we know you are the Strider that Gandalf speaks about?" he demanded. "You never mentioned Gandalf till this letter came out. You might be a play-acting spy for all I can see, trying to get us to go with you. You might have done in the real Strider and took his clothes. What have you to say to that?" "That you are a stout fellow," answered Strider. "But I'm afraid my only answer to you, Sam Gamgee, is this. If I had killed the real Strider, I could kill you, and I should have killed you already without so much talk. If I was after the ring, I could have it. Now." He stood up, and seemed suddenly to grow taller. In his eyes gleamed a light, keen and commanding. Throwing back his cloak, he laid his hand on the hilt of a sword that had hung concealed by his side. They did not dare move. Sam sat wide-mouthed, staring at him dumbly. "But I am the real Strider," he said. "Fortunately," he said, looking down at them with his face softened by a sudden smile. "I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and if by life or death I can save you, I will." There was a long silence. At last Frodo spoke with hesitation. "I believed that you were a friend before the letter came," he said. "Or at least I wished to. You have frightened me several times tonight, but never in the way that servants of the enemy would, or so I imagine. I think one of his spies would, well, seem fairer and feel fouler, if you understand." "I see," laughed Strider. "I look foul and feel fair. Is that it? All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost." "Did the verses apply to you, then?" asked Frodo. "I could not make out what they were about. But how did you know that they were in Gandalf's letter, if you have never seen it?" "I did not know," he answered. "But I am Aragorn, and those verses go with that name." He drew out his sword, and they saw that the blade was indeed broken a foot below the hilt. "Not much use, is it, Sam?" said Strider. "But the time is near when it shall be forged anew." Sam said nothing. "Well," said Strider, "with Sam's permission, we will call that settled. Strider shall be your guide. And now I think it is time you went to bed and took what rest you can. We shall have a rough road tomorrow. Even if we are allowed to leave Bree unhindered, we can hardly hope now that Bree unhindered. We can hardly hope now to leave it unnoticed. But I shall try to get lost as soon as possible. I know one or two ways out of Breeland, other than the main road. If once we shake off the pursuit, I shall make for Weathertop." "Weathertop?" said Sam. "What's that?" "Is a hill, just to the north of the road, about halfway from here to Rivendell. It commands a wide view all around, and there we shall have a chance to look about us. Gandalf will make for that point, if he follows us. After Weathertop, our journey will become more difficult, and we shall have to choose between various dangers." "When did you last see Gandalf?" asked Frodo. "Do you know where he is, or what he is doing?" Strider looked grave. "I do not know," he said. "I came west with him in the spring. I have often kept watch on the borders of the Shire in the last few years, when he was busy elsewhere. He seldom left it unguarded. We last met on the 1st of May, Sarn Ford, down the Brandywine. He told me that his business with you had gone well, and that you would be starting for Rivendell in the last week of September. As I knew he was at your side, I went away on a journey of my own. That has proved ill, for plainly some news reached him, and I was not at hand to help. I am troubled. For the first time since I have known him, we should have had messages, even if he could not come himself. When I returned, many days ago, I heard the ill news. The tidings had gone far and wide that Gandalf was missing and the horsemen had been seen. It was the elven folk of Gildor that told me this, and later they told me that you had left your home. There was no news of your leaving Buckland. I have been watching the East Road anxiously. Do you think the Black Riders have anything to do with it? With Gandalf's absence, I mean, asked Frodo. I do not know anything else that could have hindered him, except the enemy himself, said Strider. But do not give up hope. Gandalf is greater than you Shire folk know. As a rule, you can only see his jokes and toys, but his business of ours will be his greatest task. Pippin yawned. I am sorry, he said. I am dead tired. In spite of all the danger and worry, I must go to bed, or sleep where I sit. Where is that silly fellow Merry? It would be the last straw if we had to go out in the dark to look for him. At that moment, they heard a door slam, and feet came running along the passage. Merry came in with a rush, followed by Nob. He shut the door hastily and leaned against it. He was out of breath. They stared at him in alarm for a moment before he gasped. I have seen them, Frodo! I have seen them! Black Riders! Black Riders? Cried Frodo. Where? Here, in the village. I have stayed indoors for an hour, and as you did not come back, I just went out for a stroll. I had come back again and was standing just outside the light of the lamp, looking at the stars. Suddenly I shivered and felt something horrible creeping near. There was a sort of danger among the shadows across the road. Just beyond the edge of the lamplight, it slid away at once into the dark without a sound. There was no horse. Which way did it go? Asked Strider, suddenly and sharply. Merry started, noticing the stranger for the first time. Go on, said Frodo. This is a friend of Gandalf's. I will explain later. It seemed to make up the road eastward, continued Merry. I tried to follow. Of course, it vanished almost at once, but I went around the corner and as far as the last house on the road. Strider looked at Merry with wonder. You have a stout heart, he said, but it was foolish. I don't know, said Merry. Neither brave nor silly, I think. I could hardly help myself. I seemed to be drawn somehow. I went, and suddenly I heard voices by the edge. One was muttering, and the other was whispering, or hissing. I couldn't hear a word that was said. I did not creep any closer because I had begun to tremble all over. Then I felt terrified, and I turned back, and was just going about home when something came behind me and I fell over. I found him, sir, put in Nob. Mr. Butterbur sent me out with a lantern. I went down to Westgate, and then back up towards Southgate. Just nigh Bill Ferny's house, I thought I could see something in the road. I couldn't swear to it, but it looked to me as if two men were stooping over something, lifting it. I gave a shout, but when I got up to the spot there was no sign of them. Only Mr. Brandybuck lying by the road. He seemed to be asleep. I thought I had fallen into deep water, he says to me, and I shook him. Very queer he was, and as soon as I had roused him, he got up and ran back here like a hare. I'm afraid that's true, said Merry, though I don't know what I said. I had an ugly dream, which I can't remember. I went to pieces. I don't know what came over me. I do, said Strider. The Black Breath. The riders must have left their horses outside and passed back through the south gate in secret. They will know all the news now, for they have visited Bill Ferny. And probably that southerner was a spy as well. Something may happen in the night before we leave Bree. What will happen? Said Mary. Will they attack the inn? No, I think not, said Strider. They are not all here yet, and in any case that is not their way. In dark and loneliness they are strongest. They will not openly attack a house where there are lights and many people. Not until they are desperate. Not while all the long leagues of Eriador still lie before us. But their power is in terror, and already some in Bree are in their clutch. They will drive these wretches to some evil work. Bernie, and some of the strangers, and maybe the gatekeeper too. They had words with Harry at Westgate on Monday. I was watching them. He was white and shaking when they left him. We seem to have enemies all around, said Frodo. What are we to do? Stay here, and do not go to your rooms. They are sure to have found out which those are. The Hobbit rooms have windows looking north and close to the ground. We will all remain together and bar this window and the door. But first Nob and I will fetch your luggage. While Strider was gone, Frodo gave Mary a rapid account of all that had happened since supper. Mary was still reading and pondering Gandalf's letter when Strider and Nob returned. Well, masters, said Nob, I ruffled up the clothes and put in a bolster down the middle of each bed, and I made a nice imitation of your head with a brown woolen mat. Mr. Underhill, sir, he added with a grin. Pippin laughed. Very lifelike, he said. But what will happen when they have penetrated the skies? You shall see, said Strider. Let us hope to hold the fort till morning. Good night to you, said Nob, and went off to take part in the watch on the doors. Their bags and gear they piled on the parlor floor. They pushed a low chair against the door and shut the window. Peering out, Frodo saw that the night was still clear. The sickle was swinging bright above the shoulders of Bree Hill. He then closed and barred the heavy inside shutters and drew the curtains together. Strider built up the fire and blew out all the candles. The hobbits lay down on their blankets with their feet towards the hearth, but Strider settled himself in the chair against the door. They talked for a little, for Mary still had several questions to ask. Jumped over the moon, chuckled Mary as he rolled himself in his blanket. Very ridiculous of you, Frodo. But I wish I had been there to see it. Worthies of Bree will be discussing it for 100 years hence. I hope so, said Strider. Then they all fell silent, and one by one, the hobbits dropped off to sleep. Ooh. So that's 2 chapters. Ooh. Oh man. There's a lot more dialogue in the Lord of the Rings books than the movies, I've noticed. Strider, or Aragorn, he doesn't talk really as much in the movies as he does in the books. Anyways, I think that's it for me. I don't know how many people are on here. I kind of hide my viewers from view, so I don't actually look at the viewership. But I feel like I'll probably get depressed if I look and see only a few people on. But I do hope that everybody who listened enjoyed my reading of chapters 9 and 10 of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I will probably do this again on Wednesday like I usually do. I want to get back into reading again. And it's been a bit of a struggle. So, I don't think anybody has any questions, but if you do, I'll stick around for a little while. And, I'll just stick around if any of you have any questions regarding Lord of the Rings or just want to talk. Feel free. Let me get the live scene going. Waves. So, man, my throat is sore. I don't know how I sound to you guys, but when I hear it in my head, it sounds a little raspy. Like I just woke up. Oh, maybe that's because I'm dehydrated. I forgot. I got water right here. It's actually electrolyte water with something called liquid IV, which is a hydration. It's like a powder. You pour it in, you mix it up, and it tastes decently. But its main purpose is to help keep you hydrated. You know, a lot of water that we drink is filtered, which is good because it filters out all of the impurities, but it also filters out like all of the necessary minerals that your body needs that is in water. That's actually why you need so much water, is because you need all those minerals that it comes with. And so the liquid IV is just there to put those minerals back in your body. Get in a little closer here. It's off. Ooh. My cat ear's back on. Meow, meow, meow. Patching complete. I've noticed this always does that. I feel like every time I start this game, it has a download patch. I don't know why. And then of course, when it downloads the patch, you have to restart the whole game all over again. Start. Oh, I am tired though. I was oh, my batteries, my watch battery is dead. I gotta charge that. Hang on. Right there, my charger. I was looking at my my watch this morning. It's one of those smartwatches, so it tells you like information about yourself for health reasons. And like one of the things that I've been keeping a lot of paying a lot of attention to was my my sleep schedule, to see like, you know, how many hours of sleep I'm getting, how good the sleep is, like the quality of the sleep. And let me see if I can find it. It's attached to my phone. But yeah, this is my energy score right here. You can see here it says 40. 40 is very bad. Like you can look here, all of the red, all of the orange is basically saying I need to focus on this. The fuck?
Wow.
So, and then if I scroll down, so this is what it is. Oop. Trying to show you. So the orange is the number of times I woke up during the night. So you can see I woke up a lot. You come here. I think I spent more time not more time awake than I did asleep, but more time awake than I did any of the other sleep patterns.
This is a testament
like
to my
REM
connection
sleep,
with the world around me.
light sleep,
It's
deep
very
sleep.
much my companion now.
Oh boy, it's annoying. Ooh! Gift of the Moon. Can I do her now? Hang on. Gift of the Hunt. Am I able to summon her now? Ooh, we're doing it. We're summoning her. Come on, let's go. This is who I've been waiting for this whole time. I want Yuno. Didn't get her. got that annoying ass. I don't even like that guy. I think I've had him like every single Thank you for listening. Minnesota Girl 19. I'm glad to know that there are people who are actually listening to me as I do my reading of the Lord of the Rings. That's an old it's an old childhood favorite. I used to read it when I was in middle school. Like I'd read it. I think I read it like I want to say like 20 times in middle school and high school. But I haven't read it since I became an adult. So I was hoping to pick it up and maybe share that with other people. Cuz I feel like reading is sort of becoming less popular with, you know, all the new forms of entertainment like TikTok, Instagram. Video games, of course, have completely taken over. I think that's the #1 most popular form of media now.
Beyond
and
myself,
I got her.
beyond every written start and end of the story, till we rewrite our fate.
Oh damn! I'm really glad I got her. That was my second pull too. My second wish. So I'm assuming, Minnesota Girl 19, I'm assuming you're a big fan of Lord of the Rings? Or are you a big fan of Lord of the Rings? Yeah, this is hers. We're gonna do this convene. Don't need that. And we're gonna do this again. Nothing. Go again. Gotcha. Those sound like good parents to me personally. I love the movies too. I used to watch them all. I don't have them anymore because my DVDs broke. But they are probably still some of my all-time favorite movies. You know, despite the fact that they're actually like super old now. I think they're like what, 20, like 30, how old are they? I'm actually curious now. Lord of the Rings, the movies came out in the books. Films, there we go. They came out in 2001, so they're 24 years old. But I would say that as a movie series, they are probably still some of the best directed movies of all time. Especially in the fantasy genre. There's not a whole lot of actually good fantasy movies out there.
Whether you need help with working out or maintaining your health, feel free to come by my gym. We welcome all visitors.
That is an old-ass dude. I did not get my moon gazer sigil. Ooh, do I have it? Please, 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 please. Come on. Come on. God, why is he keeping waiting? Ah, I got it. Oh man. So I got, and I got her weapon. Let me see here. Resonators.
I will be there for everyone.
What we want is party. Team. There we go. Team. And we'll replace her. This game is called Wuthering Waves. It is a gacha game done by Kuro Games. It's similar to, I don't know if do you play gacha games at all? Where is she? There she is. Support, healer, concerto, and oh.
I am the moon that never falls, here to rewrite the ending.
Probably not. So gacha games are basically, they're games where you can make wishes to get characters and equipment. That's basically like the point of the gacha games. It's a gacha system where you just, it's sort of like gambling, like legal gambling. This game is, it's sort of like a mix between an RPG and a gacha game with an open world setting. So you can basically travel anywhere you want. The story is a little confusing. I still don't quite know entirely what the story is about. But it's probably one of my favorite games as far as gameplay is concerned, and I really like the character designs.
Not to
And
brag,
look at
but
how
I down that
look at how
castle
amazing
with
these
just
characters
one
look.
blow.
They're so cute and well designed. This guy right here, he's also a playable character. This pirate dude. I don't think I have him though.
While the moon cycles, I remain the anchor.
Yeah, I don't have him. So let's see here. We want to switch to this. This is her weapon. Switch. Upgrade. It is free to play, by the way. You don't have to pay any money to play this game. It's just that you can pay for Asterite, which is their in-game. Let me see if I can show you. Asterite is... This is Asterite. It's their in-game currency, which you use to do a convene, which is this thing right here, where you basically you make a wish for these characters. So I'll show you right here. Convene, you press that. Oh. Saying I don't have enough. Okay. I can't do a convene then. But basically, a convene is like a wish, where you pull for specific characters. This is... this character right here is Yuno, right here. This is her banner, which means that you can pull this character on this banner. There are two more. This one, which is for this character, Kachona. I don't know how you pronounce her name. And then this is like the standard Resonator convene, which means that you can pull, I think a lot of characters are just on this, and you can pull for a lot of these 5 stars. So these are like the 3 big ones. Lingang, Jianxin, and Encore. What was I doing? Right, I was doing characters.
While the moon cycles, I remain the anchor.
We'll upgrade this. So, and a lot of gacha games are basically about like building these characters that you get through this wishing system in order to make them stronger. So right now I'm upgrading her weapon. So you can see here, like this is her weapon stats. She's got an attack of 224 and a crit rate of 20.4%. Which means, I'm assuming that since this is her specific weapon, her powers use crit damage and crit rate. I'll have to look at her specific abilities. I don't actually know what her abilities are like. I just got her because I wanted her. Because she basically reminds me of Rin Tosaka from the Fate franchise. Or rather, she reminds me of Ishtar when she was in Rin Tosaka's body. So I can't upgrade anymore. I don't have these. Oh, but I have supply packs. But I don't have enough. Okay. Yep, no supply packs for that. So that's as hard as I can upgrade that. I can also go here. level her up. Auto select. And I always try to level these characters up as soon as I get them.
My powers keep manifesting like my emotions, memories, and connections. You've become quite adept at this anchor job, haven't you?
So I'm an anchor. I am assuming that there is some kind of story quest that I'll need to do that involves me becoming her anchor. I'm hoping. I feel like this game in particular cut out a lot. Lady of the Sea, Embers of Glory drop, used for resonator ascension. The cheers, the applause, the cry for glory from within. She sinks as if into the depths of the sea, drifting ever farther from those sounds of her past, unable to respond in the stillness below. Only the shadows of a sea creature circle her in silence. Which I don't have. Let's see what I can do there. And this is the other way that you build these characters, is by giving them echoes, which are these things right here. Each character has a very specific build, so I can say Withering Waves. You know, and I always look this up because I don't know how to build characters. Oh, jeez, that's not gonna help. What we want is, you know, builds, teams. There's another place that I use here. It's not any of these. I guess we can just go here. So, and we're gonna look at say premium arrow sub DPS. You know, who has a lot of things going for her kit. She provides decent healing and damage in the battlefield and has domains to enhance stamina and recovery, which helps the DPS go all out in battle. Her main downside is that half of her buffing capabilities is tied towards whether the main DPS can get 10 shields quickly, which is currently only possible. So basically, she pairs best with Augusta. She's essentially tied to her teams and is significantly worse with other heavy attack DPS like Gian. So it sounds like she's very limited in her use, and you kind of need Augusta to use her. So, and these are the echoes that I want, which I don't have Lady of the Sea. And I don't have... I think I have Impermanence Heron. Yeah, I have that one. But Lady of the Sea is probably her best. So, and Yuno's best. Sonata effects. Shields by herself. Therefore, her best in-slot set is the Crown of Valor. This enables Yuno to deal as much damage as possible for the team, while also buffing the main DPS with her entire kit. So I need Crown of Valor. 3-piece set. Second best option. So 3-piece and 2-piece. Crown of Valor and Sierra Gale. Oh, she works well with the Shorekeeper who I just got. It's not telling me what her best point system is. So if you go back in here, you can see here that this is her cost. This is how much, how many points we have to put onto her. And we have here, these are the points. So you can see this one has 4. So if I put this in, it costs 4 points. I put this in, it costs 3 points, and we've got 12. So normally you want to do like 4 in this slot, and 3, 3, 1, 1. But that's not always the best, depending on the character that you've got. So we want to go to Crown of Valor. And we go back here, Crown of Valor. It does not actually tell you what the best effects are. So normally in the system that I use. Storekeeper. This one. I think. Let's try build. Loot bar, game ascension. There was a very specific website that I used to go to figure out builds in Wuthering Waves. I think it was this one. Maybe it was this one. I don't think it was this one, but without disabling. Characters. Let's see if Yuno is here. There she is. So we go down to build. This is the weapon. This is her weapon, which is the one I just got. And then it says Crown of Valor, and Augusta's best set. The only set that should be ran on main DPS increases attack and crit damage by 6% and 4% for 4 seconds respectively when a shield is applied to the equipped character, stacking up to 5 times every 5.5 seconds. This totals to 30% attack and 30% crit damage, which is the best set for Yuno and Augusta in specific, as they are the only characters in the game who are able to stack up this effect. And the other one is this one. Only consider this set on sub DPS Near equal in team damage to Crown of Valor in the best sub DPS team offers 10% unconditional energy regen, which makes energy requirements easy. More importantly, however, upon using outro grants the next character switching in a 22.5% attack boost to their damage. So, and here's the echo setup. So you can see here, 4-3-3-1-1. And it looks like if I'm going with a sub DPS setup here, element plus element or element plus attack. So, and I don't have, since I don't have Lady of the Sea, we are using this one. And we're going to go... Oh, that's not even what I want. I guess we'll have to go here. To... Moonlit Clouds. And Permanence Heron. Right, crit rate, attack. I'm wondering if... doesn't look like we actually want to go healing bonus with her. So for the 4 costs, we want crit damage or crit rate. For the 3 costs, we want arrow damage or attack percent. The 3 costs again, arrow damage, and then attack percent and attack percent. Let's see. Crit rate. Or crit damage. It looks like crit rate is the best one we've got here. So we will equip that. And then the rest of these don't really matter, like what they are. You just want to look at this specific buff, because this is what gives you specific buffs. So this does not give me anything that I would want. Arrow damage will work, actually. And then we don't want Glacial, we don't want Defense, we don't want Havoc. Arrow damage here will work again. And then we go down to 1 and 1. So attack, and that is what we want. And then for this last one, we also want another attack. So there we go. And I might not keep this build. This is just the only build that I can do right now. Oh, that's actually pretty good. Crit damage right there. Insufficient materials. Okay. We go back into our stats, and we can see here. HP is not that good at the moment, but whatever. I'm curious now. I do like her attacks. Oh, she can move on this. What the f***ing... That's so cool. I'm assuming this is like a... Yep, this is the next part of the main quest right here. Oh, and I can actually do a phase ascension. I'll have to do that soon. I'm not going to do that right now. I was only here just in case people wanted to ask questions regarding Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to head off. But I do want to thank everybody who listened to me read. I feel like that's a very boring stream for some people. I think most of us enjoy like gaming or, you know, someone who's more chatty and talkative than I am. So I'm grateful to all the people who joined me today. And I will see you on Wednesday for sure, but maybe on another day. You know, maybe Thursday if I'm feeling up for it. So, rest of you guys have a great afternoon and try not to work too hard. Thank you as well. Talk to you later.